Hi, I'm Lindsay Barnett, and I am super jazzed by the conversation that I just had with Kim Sorrelle. She is amazing, has such a big heart, and it really allowed me to put all of me out there and all the various ways that I've come to my journey in trying to support people in finding greater work-life harmony, living better lives, and a lot of what my hope is by sharing with you all of the powerful but very practical and easy possibilities for yourself that you'll be able to put something in practice today to create the life that you really want for yourself.
Welcome to the show. I'm so glad you're here. You're going to be so glad you're here. I am Kim Sorrelle. I'm an author, speaker. I get to do a lot of fun things in life. My favorite thing to do is meet people, and I get to meet some amazing people today. Lindsay Barnett is on my show. She is so multifaceted. She does so much. One of the things that she does is she started this organization about being kind. How cool is that? But she does so much more than that. And we're going to get into it. And she's got wisdom to drop on you today. And so stay tuned and stay with me. And Lindsay, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Kim. I'm really excited to talk to you.
Yeah, well, I've been so looking forward to this. And so I'm really excited to talk to you. So before we get into all of what is going on in your life today and how you're helping people and how you're serving people, I want to know about 8-year-old Lindsay.
Okay. 8-year-old Lindsay had moved schools. So when I was in third grade, my parents moved to, fortunately, a different house in the same community. But my memory of the start of third grade, going to a new school, not sure if I would know anyone, was walking into my class and seeing a friend of mine from from Hebrew school who basically was like, "Oh my God," ran up to me and gave me a giant hug. And I feel like for an 8-year-old girl to walk into class, not, in a different school, not knowing what was going to happen, and to have that experience be your first 30 seconds is really can't get any better than that.
Oh, no kidding, because it could have gone either way.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
had your friend not been there, who knows?
Right. And
Uh,
I was not sort of a shy kid. Like if I knew people, I would come out, but I definitely was more of a observer, listening, waiting a little bit more to be invited in. A little nerdy. I loved learning, loved school and class. And so I think she really was a part of that third grade, experience.
so cool.
So
That's
yeah,
so cool.
yeah.
Do you still know her?
I still do. She lives in Amsterdam now. And, I had the great fortune of being able to travel to Amsterdam for work in the last several years. So I was able to see her and her family a couple times, and it was just amazing to kind of pick back up where we left off.
Oh,
So
that's so cool. That's so cool.
yeah,
I love that. I love that.
yeah.
So here you were, new school, got acclimated hopefully pretty quickly, and then rest of school was okay for you and or what?
Yeah, I mean, I
Yeah.
think being you know, a, a, a girl, I hate to stereotype it, but there's a lot of friend dynamics that I think take place in school. And so I think in elementary school I was finding my way, who are my people. And you know I think ultimately by middle school and on, I was able to really find my core group of friends and still have time and space for different activities and lots of different friends to yeah, to be part of my life. Obviously I'm emphasizing friends a lot because I think that's been a big part of just my life. I've been very lucky to have a lot of really amazing friends at a lot
Yeah.
of different chapters in my life.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. I have good friends too and would not trade them for the world. And I have friends from school, from high school,
Yeah,
that we still get together. And my best friend from high school, we're still best friends. I mean, she's amazing.
yeah,
And it does make a difference. In fact, I read recently that men,
yeah.
and it's okay to stereotype when you are one, so you are a girl, so it's okay. I don't think it's really stereotyping. But I
Yeah.
read recently that the average man in the US has 0.7 friends.
Wow.
I know, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Mm,
I don't know what it is for women, but it's got to be way over 0.7.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I'll throw you an interesting stat. My two best friends from growing up, we've known each other since we were 5.
Wow.
So I have friends from multiple chapters, but I think it's a pretty rare blessing to be able to say that you have people who knew you when you were 5 years old at this age. So
Yeah. Knew you and still like you.
yeah, I know, right? And our
That's me too.
we're still best friends.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. That's so cool.
we don't live together, in the same community. They do. They're lucky. They get to be together, but yeah, but it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it is. It's cool. And there is something so special about friends that will tell you the truth, right?
Yes, they will tell me
Whether
the
you want to
truth.
hear it or not.
Yes. Yes.
But there are that you can depend on and you get back together with them and it's like no time has passed, right?
Yeah.
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 Yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty cool.
It
So when
is.
you were a kid, did you know what you wanted to do when you grew up?
So it's funny because I mean, I didn't think I would be doing this is the short answer. I think when I was 8, I wanted to be an actress or, or a teacher, but I was putting together some old pictures and stuff from my for a milestone birthday that I had last year, and I came across my Sweet 16 How Well Do You Know Lindsay quiz. And one of the questions was, what does Lindsay want to be when she grows up? And I looked at what the options were, and I think it was, teacher, actress, gossip columnist. I can't remember what the other one was, but looking back at that list and my future career in human resources, I was like, oh my gosh, it's everything rolled into one. I think social worker was the fourth one, and it was which one does she want to be? And I don't remember what the right answer was at the time, but all of the options kind of ended up finding their way into my future career, which just gave me a giggle when I found it.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. It's so
Yeah.
funny looking back at stuff like that and going, holy cow, there was
Yeah.
something there. There was really something there. At least
Yeah.
they didn't say like a frog, or I don't know. They
A
come out all kinds
princess.
of answers. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Well, that's
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah.
So then you headed down this path. So I want to hear about it. Like what brought
Yeah.
you to where you are today?
Yeah. And I think, you know, the short word really for me is just reinvention. I've taken a lot of twists and turns along the way. I think, when I graduated, or when I got to college, I thought maybe I might be a teacher. I ended up being an anthropology major and thought I was going to be an archaeologist. Then somehow I ended up getting into advertising, thought I might try the creative path in advertising, found out wasn't as creative as I thought I was and moved into client service and account management. While I was there, I realized, wow, I keep raising my hand for the training option, to help with training and to help with recruiting and, all of that, and somehow found my way into human resources. Human resources has really stuck for the last couple decades, but I've definitely, one of the things that I've enjoyed about human resources is that there's a lot of different aspects of human resources. So I tried on a lot of different hats in human resources. Um, Took a break to move to Australia for my husband's job. So we moved the family there, had a amazing adventure, tried my hand in children's book writing. So did that, created writers groups, took classes, entered competitions, attended conferences, did all of that to support my, different needs and what I was getting out of my career at the time. And then from there, came back and moved back into human resources, but then put on a new identity with coaching. And now my latest identity as an author, an entrepreneur. So I feel like, I've been really lucky and blessed in life, but I've also created my own luck and really embraced the different opportunities that have come my way and, made the most of it all.
Yeah, so children's book author. So that's just a little bit different than what you were doing
Yeah,
before.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So how did you tackle that? How did you like it? I mean, obviously you went for it. You were going to conferences and
yeah,
learning everything that you could about doing it.
yeah.
And what was your journey like? Was that what you
Well,
expected? Was it what you hoped?
yeah, I think, when I moved to Australia, I left a great career path, great company. And I think, I moved to Australia with an 18-month-old toddler who was a voracious reader at the time. And so I was going through, I don't know, like 20 books a day. Thankfully, we lived down the street from a library. So we would get through them and then we would go back and get more and go through them and go back and get more. And I reached a point where I was like, I don't think I can read another book about a monkey truck. You know, there've got to be other books out there that I can put into the universe. No offense to the author of The Monkey Truck. My son loved your book. Um, but I wanted to put other books out into the universe. And so I said, you know what? I need something for me that's going to meet, what I had identified as kind of the three drivers or need drivers for me that I was getting from work, but what could that look like in this new setting? Um, and one of those was intellectual challenge. So learning something new, check. I'm learning a new industry, learning just how to write children's books. Um, wanting also to have adult interaction. So going to conferences, going to classes, starting a writers group met that need. And then the third need was feeling like I was having an impact. And so, hoping that by writing a book that would, impact a child or a parent's relationship with their child. Ultimately, didn't end up getting published, which is fine. But really enjoyed the experience and the learning, and I would like to think that that experience may have set the stage for my author journey. Now, right?
Right?
Maybe I wasn't supposed to be a children's book author. So
Yeah, or maybe you get it back out of the box at some point in time and it's
yeah.
for another time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly,
right,
exactly.
right. So let's talk about this whole author gig you got going.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So what made you decide you wanted to write a book and dive in?
So it's funny. I feel like obviously I've always had this spidey sense that I had a book in me. Um, don't know why per se, but it's always kind of been there. And I think ultimately what ended up happening was I knew I was going to be laid off from my previous, full job, my employer. And I happened to get a call from a company that helps authors get published. I don't know. I don't know if it was like Black Friday deal madness, but I was like, well, I don't know what I'm doing now anyway, so let's write a book. So I took advantage of the offer, and at the time, I had transitioned to working part-time. And what I was noticing was a lot of change in myself as I was working part-time, really shifting from a lot of workaholic ways and working part-time really giving me the time and space to practice new behaviors that would create more sustainable performance, greater work-life harmony. And because I was a coach, I also was noticing that some of the very same practices that I was using with myself, my coaching clients were benefiting from. And you didn't have to work part time to get these benefits. And so, really, what I tried to do is take all of my learnings and some of the stories from my own experience, from my clients' experience, curate a lot of the information out there and really create a guide for people to start taking action. That regardless of your organization's kind of contribution to your well being, you can take action, you can be the change, and even better, you can role model well being for others, creating this more virtuous cycle of well being at work.
Yeah, that's so interesting, because there's talk about work-life balance. But it seems like there's a lot of talk about it. But to actually put it into practice, to actually uh, use the tools that you put forth in your book changes everything. It changes everything. And, I think coming from being the daughter of a workaholic and then going through my own workaholicness in life,
Yeah.
uh, I wish I would have had your book a long time ago,
Oh, thank
because
you.
it definitely would have changed things for me, definitely a whole different thing. So I think it's such an important topic. So share, something from the book, a story, and how you got to one of your points or whatever you'd like to share.
Yeah. I think one of the more poignant stories that, can you hear me okay? I'm sorry.
Yep.
There's someone, gardener walking by my window. Um, but I think one of the more poignant stories in the book that I share is this concept of leaving loudly. So I was at a conference called the World Happiness Summit, and there's all these amazing leaders in the space of well-being. And I, we were just talking about what are some best practices, what are some of the things that you're seeing in the workplace. And I remember one of the people sharing that, when they leave the office for the day, they make a show of it. They leave loudly. They close the door. They slam the laptop. They say good night, right? Like it is, I'm over dramatizing probably a little bit, but the idea of it is that I am role modeling that work is a part of my life and I am going to go do that other bit now.
Mm.
And what really registered for me about that is that well being really is about our collective well being. It's not just the actions that I take, but also the actions that others see me take. And by role modeling it, it's allowing others to use less political capital or less social capital when they need to go do their life bit. And so it really connected some dots for me that we all need to do this together to really get to the place that we ultimately, I think, want to be, which is in a more humane workplace where we don't feel like we need to be a workaholic and we can, have work just be a part of our life and have real work life harmony.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Such a good point. And so true. And companies create different cultures within their company. And in some companies, it's like you feel guilty if you're not there as many hours as everybody else is, or whatever it is. And the reality is sometimes being there too many hours, you lose focus. You're more focused
Sure.
if you take it in chunks and break it down and instead of just the hours just to do the hours, right?
Yeah.
And so, that's a tough company culture to be in. And at the same time go, well, I'd like some work-life balance here. And so I need to change some things within what I'm doing. So how does somebody do that? Like if they're in a culture like that, how do they go from being part of that, swept up in that, to
Yeah.
going, okay, I'm going to leave loudly. I love that, by the way.
Yeah.
And then when I leave, I'm leaving it and I'm going to go be with my kids, be with my dog. You got a beautiful
Yeah.
big dog I saw, or,
Yes.
or whatever it happens to be. How would somebody as an individual do that if they're in a culture like that?
It's hard. It takes bravery and courage and clarity and intention. What I offer in the book is something that I call the 3 Ps, which is planning, pacing, and playing. And so just starting with planning, right? We can have goals. I hear people have a lot of goals, and sometimes those goals are shoulds versus, and I'm always like, stop shoulding on yourself. But, be careful with the shoulds. But how do we actually make a plan? Because that's when we're really committing. And a plan doesn't need to be a 9-page Excel spreadsheet document. One of the stories that I share in the book is about a friend of mine who she just wanted to get healthier. The only thing that she did was buy a bigger water bottle. That's it. That was her commitment. She bought a bigger water bottle. She lost weight. She felt better. Her skin was glowing. She had more energy. A plan is really, to me, just committing to what's that one thing that I'm going to do differently? And then once I do that, then what's the next thing, right? It's about building in those habits, but you have to start with that plan. And then the other thing to be mindful of is pacing. So when you are in an organization, there are a lot of moving parts. And so how do you be mindful of what pacing works for you? And so an example that I'll share with just kind of self-awareness around our pacing is sometimes I may be working and I feel really fidgety. And I'm like, okay, I need to not just keep working. My body is trying to tell me something that my pacing is off. I need to go take myself for a walk. I go take myself for a walk. I make that time. And when I can come back to my desk, I'm focused, I'm grounded, I'm centered, but it's starting to tune in to what are some of my energetic needs? What's my body telling me? There's a whole working mindfully chapter that I have in the book, but being aware of my pacing as well as being aware of other people's pacing so that I'm not getting too far ahead or falling too far behind. And so a lot of that is coming down to parts in other chapters around networking, your supportive core, who are your truth tellers, as we were talking about earlier, so that we can really be mindful of our pacing. And then playing. I love playing for a variety of reasons, but when we're in a place of play, it allows us to be more creative, more curious, and not let some of the fears that may be driving some of our workaholic ways get in our way. So there's a whole chapter with, practices and things to try, but that's kind of my model for, and there's a lot more building up to that model of, okay, when you're ready to go and you've done all the thinking and reflecting and whatnot, here's a path forward. Take some of these tools and try them out. It just
Yeah.
takes one thing.
Yeah, I love the water bottle story.
I
Like,
know
I
it's a
need a
good
bigger
one.
water bottle. I'm gonna do that starting today, a bigger water.
Good.
Yeah,
Yay.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But it's true. I mean, if you just start with one thing, like you said, it doesn't have to be this daunting list of 50 things that all have to happen at one time, but start with something. Just
Yeah.
start with something and then let it go from there. And I love what you talked about the pacing. I have a granddaughter graduating from high school this year, and
Yeah.
she will set her phone. And she'll set her phone for, I think her thing is 90 90 15. So she'll study for 90 minutes
Yeah.
and then take a 15-minute break. And when she takes a break, she does it loudly. She closes her laptop, she puts it aside, she, whatever, leaves the room, doesn't even stay
Yeah.
in the same room, leaves the room, maybe put headphones on, listen to music. She does something entirely different, and
Yeah.
then comes back and does work again when that timer goes off and sets another timer. And I'll tell you, it's genius. I mean, she didn't develop it. I think it came out of Cornell or who knows where it came out of,
Yeah.
who knows what she was
Yeah.
reading, but it is entirely different when you give your mind a rest, when you
Yeah.
can shift gears and do something entirely different than just be at your desk straight and just I don't know. So I've been doing that and it
Oh,
makes a big difference. I love it. I love
oh,
it.
it's amazing. It's
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah, let other, sometimes I feel like we're walking around with like brains on sticks. Like we forget that our body, our heart, like there are so many other ways to support ourselves other than just like power through, must keep thinking, must keep working. And I love the example that you shared from her of like she puts on music, she walks around, right? Like the body can support us and we don't have to think. And if you think about it, I don't know about you, but I know some of my best ideas are in the shower, when I'm driving, when I'm not like I must solve this problem, right? You need to let
Right.
your brain like digest it and work in the behind the scenes.
Yeah, yeah, so true, so true. Yeah, it's funny how that works, but that is how it works. And I'm sure there's probably people that can be creative and at the top of their game 24/7. I know I'm not one, and I thought I was. I think that's part of it too, is recognizing that you need some pacing,
Yeah.
that you aren't necessarily firing on all cylinders, being at top capacity, if you're doing it for too long in one spot over and over and over, whatever it is, without a break,
Yeah.
without time to think about the other parts of your body. Because you're right. We're not just brains, we're we're other things too. That's such a good
Yeah.
point. That's such a
Yeah.
good point. I love that. And play, man, we just have to play more, don't we? Like I think I know people. I know this happened to me, and I had to come back to it. But when you're a kid, you have all this imagination, and then you're told not to daydream, right? Well,
Yeah.
daydreaming maybe isn't so bad because you're thinking about other things and adventures, and I don't know, making something out of clay or out of whatever it is.
Yeah.
But we can lose that as adults. Like life gets too
Yeah.
serious, and
I know.
play. What are the hugest attributes of play besides what you've already mentioned? Like, how do you see it in your life?
I mean, I think, well, first of all, there's a lot of health benefits to play too. It's not just, play so you can work more, right? Like, I mean, there is a lot of data around, heart health, et cetera. For me, I love games. I love play from the perspective of, game like physical games, right? Like playing pickleball or, things like that when I can find somebody to play with me. The dog is like my biggest source of play on a daily basis because he's the one that will not, he'll come stare at me while I'm on the computer holding the toy, like, come on, come play, it's time to play. That is the greatest gift, other than the joy that he gives me from, just all the unconditional love that we get from pets. Um, but he is my regular frequent reminder it's time to play. So if you don't have a pet, maybe it's the timer, right? Whatever it is, that's the reminder to play. I happen to love Wordle, like all the New York Times games. Those to me are things
Actions,
that, yeah, like
yeah, all that
they
stuff.
get
Yeah,
my brain going, but I feel like I'm in play. And sometimes my son, I'll be like, "Did you get Wordle yet?" And then we get a little bit of connection built into that play time too. So, that's really fun. And I grew up, thankfully, in a family with a lot of playfulness. So, we did a lot of playing games, playing sports, other activities. So it's a little hardwired, but I know for some people it may not be. And so you have to really be intentional about
right,
creating space for it.
right, right. Yeah, I love it. Oh my gosh, everything you're saying, it's just so good.
Uh,
So, what if you're on the other end of things and you're the boss and you're the
yeah,
one who creates the culture in the company, but you've already created a culture maybe that is so work driven and
yeah,
uh, task oriented, whatever, and long hours and whatever. Well, how do you make a shift or what can you do?
yeah. And I have a tremendous amount of empathy for the bosses because they are, a lot the numbers are, most people are in middle management, right? And so you are often stuck in the middle where maybe your leadership isn't embracing something that you'd like to embrace, and they're kind of giving you a set of demands and expectations. And then your team members have demands and expectations of you as well, which is why it doesn't surprise me. I don't know if you've heard the term conscious unbossing, but there's a trend where people are saying no thanks to the promotion. No thanks. I don't want to be a manager because they are seeing a lot of the pressure and demands. So I usually say start with yourself, right? You've got to figure out your own work life harmony and what's going to work for you before you even have that mental space to be creative about what that looks like for your team. So even just role modeling has a tremendous impact as a leader. I've been very fortunate to have had in my career several leaders who were amazing role models for well-being, and I took a lot of learning from them. The other thing that I would say, there are three key skills. And sorry for all the threes,
No,
must be
it's
how my
good.
brain works.
It's good.
Um, but I've identified three key skills in my book for leaders to focus on that aren't new skills. This is just management 101. But if you're going to double down on any key skills, the first is just developing talent. So really having a developmental and growth mindset, because if you think about that across an entire team, it allows you to be very mindful of where are certain people at capacity, where are certain people looking for growth, how can they support one another, but you can really create a development ecosystem. So that's one aspect of it. The other thing is creating clarity. So being really clear on what the goals are, what your conditions of success are, because I've seen sadly so many people do so much overwork because they weren't clear. And so, if you can be a really clear leader on what the conditions of success are, it's not about saying task, like complete these 18 things, right? Because you want to create still some space for growth, development, innovation, creative thinking. You're not micromanaging, you're creating clarity at kind of a higher level of what good looks like. That also supports growth and development, but it also helps people not overwork. And then the last one is what I call empathetic negotiating. And so, how do you see conversations with your team as opportunities for creating clarity, for really understanding where are they at? Are they working crazy hours? Are they not? What's your role in that? Um, I see a lot of managers negotiate and have empathy, but not always together. So if you have empathy, it's like, I know that's so hard, still do it. Right? Like, I hear you, but I still need you to do it. Or, okay, we can negotiate, but I don't really understand or don't care about what it is that your problem is. So they've got to go together to really have an impact on well-being. So that's
Yeah,
I'll stop
interesting.
talking there.
Yeah, no, that's so good. That is so good. It's so true. Yeah, yeah, very interesting. I wonder how many people uh have that style, like really think about it. Because I think a lot of the things that you're talking about, some things you go, oh yeah, I've heard it, but you're saying it in such a different way, for one thing, and you're saying other things, right? So, and one of the things that I really like that you're saying is that you have to be intentional, that
Yeah.
you have to think, this is what I want to do, this is how I want to be, this is how I want to lead, this is how I want to work, this is how I want my life to look like, and then be intentional, do what it takes to get to that point, to
Yeah.
be that person.
Yeah. And it's really hard. I'm not like disclaimer, I am not perfect. I am 100% in practice in this. And there are always times where my husband and I are looking at each other like, what happened this week? We wanted to do these things and we didn't get to them and whatnot. It is a constant state of practice and reminding ourselves of our intentions, giving ourselves grace when we don't meet our intentions. But yeah, it is hard and it's a practice.
Yeah, yeah, so I think it could be interesting, like, so if you turn from this workaholic
Yeah.
to figuring out how to pace and how to play, how to put things into practice and change. I wonder if your kids look at you funny, or what happens at home,
Yeah.
because it can change your life. So,
Yeah.
what kind of an effect does it have on family?
So it's interesting because I have two teenagers now. So I don't know if anything I'm doing is doing anything because I just get a lot of eye rolls. But I did hear if they're rolling their eyes, that means they still heard you. So I'll take that as I'll take it. Um, but I mean, I will say this. I think the pandemic was really for me as well as so many other people, the big magnifying glass into how I was working. Um, and, you know, I feel like there were a lot of comments from my family members that I was in a haze, I wasn't present, I wasn't paying attention. Um, Ironically, when you try to make the change and things are better, usually people aren't saying to you, oh, things are so much better now. Right? Like we're much more wired to complain when we don't like things than to
Right.
reinforce when things are going well. Um, so I would just say there may be less complaints or lesser complaints. So, I don't know, they're
Yeah.
in their own world, as teenagers should be. So yeah, so I don't know what they've been picking up, but I do feel like my husband, at least, who is not a teenager, um,
Well, which is
I
good, by the way. I'm glad
yes, which
your
is
husband's
good
not
because I
teenage.
would
That's good.
yes, because I'd be calling you from jail.
Yeah.
Um, but my husband and I do feel like it does feel different in the relationship. I don't know how to quantify it, but it does feel like things are different, and I'm very lucky that, I have married a very evolved, amazing man. So,
Yeah, well, I think it can't help but change things. It can't help but change things in every area of your life, right? You're going to be
yeah.
more productive at work. You're going to be, better at what you do. You're going to be better, more present at home. All your relationships will be better. It can't help but change things for the better in every way. And I think, with a marriage, it can be, you can get to a point where it's like, wow, somebody's coming while somebody else is going, and you're
Yeah.
driving the kids around and you're going to their stuff or you're doing whatever.
Yeah.
And it can be easy to kind of lose a connection,
Yeah.
especially if you put work in the wrong area of priorities, or
Yeah.
or you let work suck every bit of energy away from you so you don't have any left when it comes to everything else in life. And so
Mhm.
it can be really easy. And but I also believe that one person can change that. One person can change a relationship. You,
Yes.
you don't have to both be on board about anything. Like if you change the way you look at him, the way you look at her, the way you do things, the way you
Yeah.
conduct your life, things are going to change. It has to. Just
Yeah.
the way life works.
Yeah.
That's cool. So marriage is
100%
good.
agree.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's interesting. I was talking with a coaching client the other day who was really struggling with wanting to spend time with family, wanting to spend time, with his wife and child, and really being pulled into work and wanting to make sure that, you know, we're, he was being responsible at work and whatnot. And we were just talking about like a conversation or interaction that he had with his wife. And I don't remember exactly how I phrased it, but he was like, "Oh," I said more or less like work is kind of like your mistress. Like it feels like it's somebody who's you're like sneaking around to like go finish your work or go work on that thing, and it has that same feeling. Um and I think it kind of opened his eyes a little bit to, wow, that I never even thought about it that way, and what would I need to do differently so that it doesn't have that feeling for my wife when I do need to go disappear and, work for a couple hours.
Wow. What a crazy and true perspective. Like I had never thought about it like that, but yeah, because you feel left out, right? You're leaving somebody out and they aren't totally aware of what it is that you're doing. And so yeah, I can see where it would feel the same. And that's not a good feeling.
Yeah, and I think it's also probably a newer phenomenon now, in the last, I don't know, 10, 20 years. It's definitely since the pandemic because we can work remote.
Mhm.
There used to be a much more like this is work and this is life, right? And these two shall not meet. We were in the office and then we were at home. But now it's so intermingled. It's just such a different experience that I think we're all grappling with right now.
Yeah, and then we've got that tether, our phone, that
Hmm.
we feel like we have to have on all the time. I find myself turning my phone off more and more and more all the time. And
Yeah.
I like it. I can say that my kids don't like it. Like they wish that I answered my phone more often, but
Yeah.
it can be an addiction, I think. I don't know that it has nicotine in it, but there's
Oh
something
yeah.
about it that,
Oh yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Definitely. Yeah.
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 So
And there's a
cutting
lot
that
of,
string.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot. There's a woman named Amy Blankson who started an organization called the Digital Wellness Institute. I think that's the name of it. But she's all about that, the digital wellness, because it is something that we do need to be mindful of, because it is probably rewiring our brains to a certain degree.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and you can be in the same room, but if you are not really present because, your mistress is your phone, or
Yeah.
that doesn't work. I mean, it just doesn't work. So,
Yeah.
human connection with other humans that are live and in person, different than human connection with somebody you don't know on TikTok,
Right. Right.
right? So, yeah.
Yeah.
So when you coach and when you talk about all these things, like if people were to take away one or two big things, what do you think the most important things are?
So I'll give you two. Um, the first is just the power of the pause. So it's so easy to just have the tail wagging the dog, so to speak, right? Where we get a ping by a text, we get all of these things. Our boss is emailing us. I need this or that. Unfortunately, the gym doesn't call us to say, come, but we need you here. But there's so many things that are pulling our attention. Just being able to take a deep breath and pause to think, do I need to attend to this now? Can this wait? Do I need to negotiate for more time? Do I, whatever that is, to just have that split second of mindfulness to really think about, how do I want to respond to this stimuli? uh, it can really, really support people in starting to make some shifts in their behaviors that are more aligned to their intention. And then the other thing is just commit to one thing. Just find one thing that you can commit to, whether it's a bigger water bottle or, you know, buying running shoes. I don't know, whatever it is, but start to find that one thing and you can start to build from there. But find the one thing that you can commit to, that you feel you can commit to successfully
Yeah,
for at
I love
least
it.
a given period of time.
Right, right, right. Yeah, great advice. Two great gems of advice for sure. And it makes it easy. It makes it so palatable, right? It's not overwhelming. It doesn't have to be a big deal. It just has to be. You just have to
Yeah,
start. You just have to do.
yeah.
So in working with people, like what are some drastic changes that you've seen with people, or some of the biggest things that happen in their lives?
Um, I feel like there are a lot of different ones to bring up. I think just one of the ones that is still in motion, but it's a recent client that I'm just really enjoying watch, is she's, works super hard, wants to help people, all these like really well intended reasons for having work be such a big part of her life. At the same time, she's has an eye to retirement. She doesn't know if it's going to be 2 years away or 7 years away or whatnot. And one of the things that we did is really talk about identity shifts. And right now she's in like, I'm a worker, I'm a manager, I'm a director, I'm a leader, right? That identity is really pronounced. So how can we start to dial up different parts of her identity that she wants to connect with more? And so one of the practices that we did was, I said, pick a day, any day. We're going to practice for retirement. I want you to take that day. It could be a Saturday, right? So there's no, possibility of work disrupting you. Just practice being retired. And so she took me up on that offer, and she did. And I think there was something about being in that new brain space of what does it feel like to be here that really opened up for her. Oh, I like crafting. Oh, I like doing all these things. And since we had that retirement practice, which was just one day, um, I've been noticing in our, ongoing coaching calls more things that she's doing for herself and for her interests. And that is just delighting me that she's, finding the time and space that didn't feel like it was there before.
Wow. Wow. That's really cool. Yeah. So practicing retirement was a pretty interesting piece of advice, but what a good one.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, if you think about it, like, I don't know that I've ever gone a day without thinking about work necessarily, right? Like it's
Me
going to
either.
come in. But if you don't have work anymore,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah.
So another thing I want to, so this is all so good. Lindsay,
Oh,
you're
thanks.
amazing. Buy the book. It's so good. I'll have all the information, show notes, of course, and whatever, and
Yeah.
links and all of that kind of stuff. And it's a life-changing book. I mean, you're helping people and you're going to be helping a ton of people through this book. And I appreciate that a lot.
I hope so.
And then I saw that you've got this organization you started.
Yes.
Can you,
Yes.
can you tell me about it?
I would love to tell you about it. So the name of the organization is called Our Kind of Club, and it was started by myself and two other lifelong friends. Um, I'm the person in, business, in the business world. My other friend who wrote an amazing book called The Rabbit Effect, which is she's a physician, has her master's in public health, and she wrote a groundbreaking book called The Rabbit Effect, which is all about the study of kindness in health and how it actually has an impact on your health. And then our other friend is a career diplomat. So we've got kind of business, medicine, and health, and government, public policy, all converging. And we found that kindness is this red thread through all of them in terms of really having an impact on making a kinder and healthier world for all. And so we are right now, we meet, actually, this Sunday is coming up, our next one. But we have a monthly virtual, what we call a kindness campfire, where people join in from all over the world, and we share our intentions around kindness, where we're on our kindness journey, and share stories of kindness. And it is just such an uplifting conversation where people are sharing things. We're walking away with new practices to try or stories that uplift us. And, with all that's going on in the world, to remember that people are kind, to know that you can keep practicing being kind. Or if you're struggling with it, perhaps with certain kinds of people, that there's support there. Our goal is to move that into more in-person kindness clubs as well. And these are multi-generational, like these are all inclusive clubs. So it's, everyone can practice kindness. Doesn't matter what age you are, any other demographic, it's uber inclusive. And just show up with an intent to be kind. And we've got other offerings that we're pulling into the mix. But if people go to ourkindofclub.com, they can learn a little bit more and get on our newsletter to see where they can can participate.
Yeah, wow, I love it. I love it. Yeah, kindness is a big deal. And we all, I say we all, there's probably people out there that are so kind, they don't need to be any kinder. But
Right.
I think a lot of people, could show more kindness. And it's interesting that when you're on these calls that you hear of other ways to show kindness or you hear these stories. So I'd love to hear like what was new to you or what
Yeah.
impacted you or has impacted you.
I mean, every call is impactful, honestly, but I think, you know, what's fascinating is how where kindness shows up. And what I find a lot is, self-kindness is one of the areas that a lot of people are working on. Like they're super kind to others, but maybe not as kind to themselves. And the people we are closest to are often the people that trigger us the most. And so that is oftentimes where people, when we're talking about where we are in our kindness journey, those seem to come up as common themes of, you know, how do I be the kind person that I want to be when this person keeps saying things that I find wildly triggering?
Right?
And so that is one of the things that I think I hear more and more, as well as Kelly, the author and physician. She has so much data around just how kindness impacts us and our well-being, our health, etc. So I feel like every session she's pulling out some other piece of data where I'm like, oh, that's amazing. So there's just every meeting is different. It's the same format, but every meeting I leave with something different. It's just such a gift.
Yeah, yeah, that's so cool. So, how do you practice kindness?
For me personally,
Yeah.
Um, I mean, in a variety of ways. I think, I try to be kind to myself because I think Brene Brown has, some information about this of like, if you aren't practicing enough self-compassion, it's really hard for you to actually have compassion for others. Like they are interlinked. So I really try to practice that for myself. I think one of the things that I try to do for myself as well as help others is really think about, well, what's another story. So if somebody is triggering me, what what's another way of thinking about this? Is there another story that I can be telling myself that will support me in taking that pause and being sure that I'm responding kindly, staying true to my intention. And one of the things that my co-founder, who's the diplomat, she created this amazing series called the Kindalog, where she created a model. We launched an original version around the holiday season, and another one this past April, a slightly elongated version with more exercises and tools. And one of the things that we talked about is just, you know, appreciating something about the person that you're with. What doesn't matter what it is, right? Like Kim, we met once for 2 minutes before this, and obviously I've listened to your podcasts and whatnot, but going into this conversation, just having an appreciation for you and all the love that you're spreading in the world. That's If I can enter this conversation with that even top of mind, it's going to change our dynamic. So so I try to keep some of those things and that intention to be kind top of
Yeah.
mind.
Oh my gosh, that's so powerful. Because I can see where you're going to Thanksgiving and you're dreading your Uncle Harry being there and he always, yeah, antagonizes you in whatever way, or you end up wanting to throw mashed potatoes at him or whatever. If you ahead of time take that advice and think about something good about Uncle Harry and think about, his own life and what his intentions are maybe or whatever. But yeah, it would put you in a whole different state of mind.
Yeah.
That's really good. That is really
Yeah.
profound. That's really good. Yeah. And something easy to practice.
Yeah.
Just do it. Just,
Yeah.
think about it before you even walk in the door and
Yeah.
you're going to be in a different place. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, this has been so good. Just
Oh, thank
everything you've
you.
had to say is just so good, so powerful, but practical and easy at the same time, which that's a difficult combination. That's very hard and you've
Thank
mastered
you.
it. So I appreciate it
Thank
so much.
you.
Thanks so much.
Oh,
So how
thank
can
you.
people get in touch with you? How do you want people to get in touch with you?
Yeah.
Not in
Yeah.
your home because you're there playing.
Not unless you want to play with the dog.
That's right.
So easiest place to find me is on LinkedIn. I check there regularly, but I have a couple websites with contact forms and mailing lists. But my book website is workinghelltoworkingwell.com. You can also find me at barnettcoaching.com, and those are really the easiest places to find me.
Yeah, and I love the title of your book
Oh,
because
thanks.
it kind of says it all. And so it's so good. So again, thank you so much. This has just been such a pleasure. Thank you so much for being here. I so appreciate it.
Thank you.
And thank you everybody for joining us. I hope you got as much out of it as I did. And until we see each other again, I pray that you keep your heart open and live your love loud.